us okay?
I can hear you great.
Awesome.
Sweet. Okay.
Happy Thursday.
Well, what's up, everybody? Chris Jackson here with my co-host,
Tatiana Grant. Hello, everyone.
Welcome back to the CANiVISION with Midwest podcast. We're back at the Foundation Hotel downtown Detroit.
Yes, thank you.
Things are safe.
Things are safe. Last week, it was questionable. There was protesters across the street. They were on MSNBC. So yes, I'm happy. It's nice and calm in the D right now.
It is nice and calm in the D. So we are back here at our studio, and we are joined today by a special guest.
Yes,
Jamie,
special guest and friend.
Special guest and friend to us in all of the cannabis industry, Jamie Cooper. What's up, Jamie?
Hi.
How are you?
How's it going? I
good.
am doing well amidst the chaos that's happening in our world right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jamie, high level, tell us what you do, who you are. We know what you do. We know how famous you are, but why don't you tell us what you do?
Well, I am a advocate, a connector, a communicator, you name it. Like, I'd like to consider myself a jack of a lot of trades, not all trades, a lot of trades. So, but I'm the managing director for Sensi Connects, which is a B2B networking and lead referral network that we have. And then also the managing director for Sensi Magazine, which is a Michigan-based lifestyle magazine around the cannabis lifestyle.
Dope. And we're going to find out a lot about that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But first, we want to start by, we like to try to touch on relevant topics in the cannabis industry. And there are a lot of them. But today, since we're talking about lifestyle, we want to talk about branding specifically. Particularly the way that the industry is moving towards celebrity branding. And we knew it was going to happen at some point, but it seems like the trajectory is way quicker than we anticipated before. And so you have the likes of, the OGs, right? You have Snoop, you have the Marleys, of course, Willie Nelson, Mike Tyson, Ricky Williams. They've been doing their thing in the industry for a while,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then more recently, you have others who decided to put their name out there, like Jay-Z, for instance, with Cleveland.
Yeah.
Drake, I can't remember who he's associated with up in Canada, but it makes sense that it's a company from Canada.
Yeah.
Because it's Drake. And others.
Yeah.
And so, my question for you all, I'm under the impression that the industry is going to be a lot like, I think it's Tennessee, where 80 to 90% of the whiskey is made, right? And you just white label, basically throw a name on it. And really you have these behemoths that you'll never hear about so far as who's actually producing the flower or the plant, right? The brand itself. But the white label will ultimately be, and I think it's going to be a huge driver in the United States, brands specifically. So you two are lifestyle in your own rights. So I want to hear your perspective.
Jamie, you want to go first as our guest?
Sure. What we're seeing happening in Michigan is a lot of celebrities based outside of Michigan wanting to come in and partner with some of the operators who obviously have foot the entire build out costs, all that stuff. And for the most part, they're asking for a pretty penny. I mean, they really, there's the great thing about partnering up with a celebrity brand is it's great PR. It's incredible PR. You're going to get that, because people want, attract to those big names, but there's a high price to pay for that. And I feel like a lot of what we see is the consumer is really looking at price and quality, before they're looking at the actual names and who it's by. Yeah, they're probably going to try it just to try it, but it's not going to be the one of the brands that they're going to continue to buy repeatedly. They're going to try it because they're going to be able to say, hey, I did try Jay-Z's strain, it was awesome. And just to say that they did. That's kind of my opinion about it.
Yeah, and I think, as you're establishing your brand, as Jamie said, It helps you get the impressions and the viewership and the exposure that you need. I think, yes, there's definitely always a heavy price tag associated with it. It definitely appears that the white labeling model is going to be across the board. I remember even before I was really in the industry, when I was just kind of doing my research, I connected with a brand that was out in California, and then as I started doing my research, I found out that they were white labeling here in Michigan, and I was connected with the growers that they were associated with, the growers and processors that they were associated with here in Michigan. And so that's when I realized, like, oh, this is how this is going to work. And of course, the local brand that they're even with is a large local brand. So, again, I think it goes back to resources and the ability to scale.
Not saying no names?
Not going to say any names. No. But, I think there's something to be said about it. I actually text messaged you about it. You may not have even known what it was about. I've already been approached by a professional sports team asking me to connect them with some brands in regards to like a CBD line. And it's a professional sports team. And so I think we are going to continue to see these trends, whether it is true celebrity, whether it's influencers, whatever an established brand is, and the following and the fans and everything that comes along with them. When you start looking at building your brand and sales, right, there's a direct correlation. But I think you do have to, determine ROI as well.
Okay, so y'all brought up a good point. And you're right, because at the end of the day, as an operator, the throughput, right, the expense is ultimately on the consumer. And the consumer can get shit way less, right, somewhere else on the streets. We're lucky to have multiple $8 grams, and that's what makes sense in cities like Detroit, Ypsilanti, where we're located. And I'll just call it out. So you have dispensaries like Cookies, for instance, right, that have a very different subset, right? They're looking for a different customer, different consumer. It is about the experience. It is about the brand. So they don't mind charging more. Right. That's their consumer. Not the case for Sticky, right? We want to be your local neighborhood dispensary, right? Yeah. And so, to your point, though, what's the balance between having a brand on the shelf to ultimately get people through the door, right? Because there are some brands where if you don't have them on your shelf, people probably won't come, right? So what's the balance of the celebrity actually getting people through the door, right? So in other words, I don't know a good example. So let's just say Damian Marley, right? Throw him out there. No, let's use Carlos Santana because he just spoke at the NCIA conference. Okay. So Carlos Santana, who we all love, has his own brand that's getting ready to come out. That's obviously a white label from a company on the West Coast that he's doing business with. So as a fan of Carlos, to Jamie's point, we may get some people through the door, right? Depending on the price point, they may even purchase it. Does that get them back through the door, though? Or is that a one-time experience and people are like, well, let me see what else is on the shelf because that's probably what I'm going to buy moving forward. So as smokers, as people who deal with people who consume cannabis, what do you think that answer is? So
how I actually came into the cannabis industry was based on me having a food delivery service. So I owned Detroit's first food delivery service, so delivering Buffalo Wild Wings and everything else before Uber Eats and Grubhub and everybody else was here.
Yeah, let them know.
Yeah. Grubhub came to us. But that's a whole nother story. And we worked very hard to have an 80-20 rule. And everything that we did was based on customer service and retention. And so I think as a brand, you can utilize these celebrities to bring people to your brand. However, you need to make sure you've captured their information. You need to make sure you have some sort of strong customer service experience to make sure that they're not having a bad experience and going to, the quality or the actual experience at the dispensary
Right.
to go to your competitor down the street. And then I think you have to also have that ongoing level of engagement, whether it's an email campaign, whether it's a social engagement, hashtag campaign, making sure that the ads and everything is a little weird, the way that it works out. But, just making sure that you have that full integrated marketing plan to make sure that those touch points are going on beyond you having to pay for every interaction that they have with your brand. That can be very expensive.
Right. And you said something about collecting the data, collecting their data and attaching it to their buying patterns. Yes. So that way you're fully aware that this person came in and bought Carlos Santana weed, and that you can continue marketing because, when you're a brand like that, you're going to continue releasing new things to just, Absolutely. Keep people hyped up over that. And so it's just like, I do want to see a lot of these operators to get really smart about, data is king right now, especially in the world that we're in. And it's important to really take that and use it properly to keep driving stores or sales to your establishment.
Absolutely.
Okay, so a fun question then, since we're talking about brands.
Okay.
Jamie Cooper, who gets you through the door? Just take away, what your favorite dispensary is right now, right? What brand, once you hear that it's there, gets you to go to this imaginary store, this neutral store? What celebrity gets you through the door?
What celebrity? Chelsea Handler. Love her.
Really?
Her. That would be my celebrity probably. She is involved, and I think she's more involved on the vape side of things. I know that she, I think it was about a year and a half ago, she did some sort of promotions with the brand Candescent, which is a brand that started in California, and we are seeing it pop up, but just definitely check them out on Instagram. They have a very, very beautiful brand. And, and I think they did an event together and she was a part of it and really pushing their vape line. And so, I think like it's, you want to support the people that you truly love. So if it's really a celebrity that you are just in awe over and you want to support their work, you go see their movies, you go see their stand-up comedy every time they come to town, those are the people that are really going to support those brands and be very, very loyal to it. I think it's very hard to keep your average consumer coming back and continuing to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be looking for the celebrity that's putting out some fire concentrates, like some solventless, like hash stuff, because that's what I look for personally, is that I go more for the actual quality and uniqueness of the product before I go over the name attached to it.
And I think, that's where you're going to start seeing kind of the craft lines, similar to how you have, craft, specialty drink places and, specialty lines and things of that sort, is when you are going to see that for your true enthusiast who isn't just trying to try something out, but is really looking for that quality, for that true experience. Maybe it is, that impact and the feeling on how their body reacts to it, whatever the case may be, as opposed to just a normal, generic, kind of experience.
Word. And who's your celebrity? Oh, go ahead, Jamie. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and there is that path. You have the market that doesn't know a whole lot about the plant. They're buying for the price, or they're buying because it looks nice, it smells nice. But then you have that audience, the connoisseur, that is just really looking for the taste, like the uniqueness and trying different things and trying the best that's out there, and seeking the best that's out there. And so, And we're going to see a lot of that. I mean, we are a relatively new recreational state. I mean, think about what that demographic looks like in Colorado that legalized back in 2014 and has had medical since 2014. You know, their consumer base looks differently because they have a lot less of those, you know, amateur rookie type consumers compared to those that just really know a lot about the plant and the different types of products out there.
Right. Good point.
And I think my kind of like blind celebrity that like whatever she does, I'm like, I'm there, I'm buying it, I'm getting a ticket, whatever the case may be.
Who was that?
That's actually Oprah.
Okay.
I am like old school.
Okay.
Reading her book when I was like a child. Literally last January, I like hopped on a plane and went to Minnesota, Minneapolis, somewhere where it was really, really cold in the middle of January when she did her Vision 2020 with Weight Watchers.
Okay. Me
and my girlfriend, we were out there. So Oprah, if she does anything, CBD, THC, anything, I'm there. But outside of her, I would say the alter ego in me is like, as long as it's aligned, the skin tone is right, like any makeup, any Instagram model, any Cardi B, any Cash Doll, anything like that, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try it out.
Okay.
Let me just put a few coins on it. If it worked for them, it might work for me.
Okay.
So yeah, it depends. Oprah's though, like she's my silver bullet though.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been thinking.
Now I've been thinking about it. And I don't really know. Like, shout out to Viola for doing the Purple Rain line, right? That Prince. I don't know if it was actually Prince, right? But they called it Purple Rain. That was a dope concept. You know what I mean? So anything with Prince, Mike Jack, like between those two,
you're pretty golden.
Yeah, I would say so. I will say, as a Lions fan, shout out to Calvin Johnson, right?
Yes.
Especially as an athlete, right? A former athlete. A former Hall of Fame athlete jumping into the industry.
Absolutely.
That's major, right?
That shows vision.
It does. So as a former Hall of Fame football player, for him to say, you know what, I'm getting involved in this industry openly, that's next level. So I'm gonna whenever they come out with their strain, I'm definitely trying it. So shout out to them too.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I appreciate y'all indulging me in the brand conversation. But let's get to know Jamie, because she's our guest.
Absolutely.
She's the most important person in the room right now. And
yes,
so,
she is.
So, Jamie, tell us about your journey into cannabis.
Well, I did start off as a consumer. I grew up in Texas Panhandle, very, very, very conservative area of the country, and found myself in Colorado. So I was in Colorado when I became an avid consumer. I was involved in, I had my medical card probably back in 2008 in Colorado. And then when they went rec, I stopped, using my medical card and was just buying it recreationally. And I was doing marketing. My past career was, I was a television news producer for about a decade. Well, I worked in television news for about a decade, but I ended my career as a producer. I was actually interviewing celebrities and got really burned out doing that. It was awesome, grateful for that past life, but got burned out and realized that I was missing a lot of time skiing because I became a ski bum when I lived in Colorado and got out of television and got into the ski industry. Worked in the ski industry for a couple of years, and then I moved on, and I met my husband out in Colorado, who grew up in Michigan. We came to Michigan, and as soon as I got here, I made a career change.
Was he living out there? I don't know this part. Was he living out there? Or was he out there? He was. So we were both working in the ski industry.
Huh?
I said, of course you came to Michigan. Okay.
Yes, we came to Michigan. We weren't going to Texas, I'll tell you that. And so we came to Michigan, and I So I started looking at getting my card because I wanted to use. I had stopped using to try to pass a drug test,
Right.
and just realized I started having a lot of issues come back, like anxiety. I was having some severe acid reflux that I didn't know that was getting aided with cannabis. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to start using again. And so I started looking into getting my card, and I got very, very frustrated because I just realized that I could get arrested for using without a card. And it just really, I was like, I can't believe this, like, especially living in Colorado where it was just so open and just looked at more normalized. And so that kind of fueled my fire. I decided that I wanted to become a voice for that. And I started looking at opportunities and starting a business and working for companies. I couldn't really work for a company yet because there were no businesses like there were in Colorado here. And so I started my own company. I started doing marketing work. A lot of my marketing work ended up being advocacy and helping operators open up communities, because it was kind of a marketing job going into the municipalities and educating our elected officials on actually what a regulated industry looks like and the opportunities that it can provide their community. So I did a lot of that work, and then in the process just realized there was just no place for entrepreneurs in the cannabis industry to come and connect with each other. So that's what we built. I built a organization that hosts weekly events, brings our community together to continue building relationships and getting to know each other and doing business in that manner. Because I'm a believer that a lot of successes that you can find are found in the relationships that you build. People want to do business with people that they know. And so I try to facilitate that and help be a resource for these startup businesses in this industry. And then late 2018, actually 2 years ago tomorrow, I joined Sensi magazine. It's 2 years ago tomorrow I announced I'm
Happy
launching a
anniversary
magazine in
advance.
Michigan.
Can we be the first to tell you happy anniversary?
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. And so I decided I became a part of Sensi, and because I saw Sensi out in Colorado, and I watched them grow. And our industry wasn't there yet, and I was just seeing all the parties they were hosting and all the fun they were having and bringing the community get together around the cannabis lifestyle and all these awesome brands. And I was like, please come to Michigan, please. And so I was constantly pinging the executive team of Sensi magazine and saying, come to Michigan. I would hit them up on social media. So the week that we legalized, I got a phone call from them saying, come to Sensi. And so we worked something out, and I launched the magazine here in Michigan, and now here we are. COVID slowed us down a bit, because our both Sensi Connects, my business, the networking organization, and the magazine were very events focused. And Tatiana, I know you can relate.
Well,
we were very events focused, and so we had to take a different route, and I'm confident with the route we're taking, kind of excited to continue to be with this industry as it continues to evolve and grow.
And to your point, so beautiful transition to the both of you. And we touched on it, I think, episode 1 a little bit, right? Because you were figuring out how the hell your business is going to do events during the pandemic.
Correct.
Jamie, you've been fairly successful at doing it virtually. From both of your perspectives, though, how has the pandemic obviously impacted you, but how have you pivoted in order to try to find a way to stay alive as a lifestyle brand? Yeah.
So for me, it's been having to go into the network. So for me, it was going to pretty much anyone I knew to come up with the solution. So I had some friends that came up with like a whole subscription box model. We then reached out to some augmented reality and virtual reality companies, and it just has kind of spiraled in a whole bunch of different ways. And then part of me was like, no, we can do something in person, socially distanced. Like I was really wanting to do a holiday event. And then the reality of Tatiana, have you watched the news? Like, the state is about to get shut down. At the way things are looking, that would not be responsible of you. So it's that balancing act of, I want to do this. This needs to happen. People will come. I mean, I think that's the other thing. We know if we were to do in-person events, people would be there. There would be a line. We would need crowd control and everything else just because people are looking for these things. But at the same time, being a responsible person in the industry, you also don't want the backlash and the negative side of that because of everything that's going on. So for me, I had to dig deep. At the same time, in my non-cannabis business, my business partner passed. So for me, it was just like a lot going on, just trying to think through it, mentally have that space to even be creative. Right. And so I ended up having to lean on other people to help me come up with these solutions because my brain was so fried I wasn't going to come up with by myself.
Okay.
What about you, Jamie? Because I know we've had calls, tears, everything, trying to figure out this pivot.
Hold on. So... this isn't by the way, I want you to answer that question, Jamie. This is the second week in a row that Tatiana is saying, like, look, we've been on phone calls, talking about this, crying about it, arguing about it. Like, apparently you just know and you just cool with everybody we bringing on the podcast. So I need to get into the cool club somehow, some way. I'm a little jealous, but
Jamie, we have not
support each other.
Jamie,
that's
we have
what
not
like.
We need to have a call about what's going on, but go ahead.
Oh, you have no idea. I've been how's everything? Like
you've seen her bird in person.
This is like my people.
What's your bird?
Coco.
Name?
I'm waiting for Coco to cameo.
Coco's upstairs, thank goodness. Yeah. I agree with her. Like, I think people realized like what amount of hurt it was going to be on me and my business. I mean, I was hosting a networking event every week, every single week. Oh, wow. And then I was hosting 6 parties for Sensi a year. So, it's 52 events plus the 58 events in 1 year. And then all of a sudden not have any that are paid, no paid events. I mean, financially, it was very, very tough, but also emotionally. Like the need for connection, like we all, like, I just needed to continue to connect. And so my very last face-to-face event was March 11th. My very first virtual event was March 25th. I wasted no time transitioning because my soul needed it. And quite honestly, like, I feel like I kind of went into this fight or flight mode where I didn't realize how hard the last 8 months have been until just recently. Like, wow, holy crap. Like, I just revamped 2 businesses in 8 months and I'm tired as hell, to be honest. I'm exhausted because it's been nonstop evolving, figuring things out. Oh, that's not going to work. Let's try this. And that's what we have to be as business owners, because you never know what curveball is going to be thrown at you. And this was one hell of a curveball. I mean, this is a historic thing that we are going through, and the businesses that are able to come out of this, it will be because of the community and the people that they had around them, the customers that kept them going. And so support your friends right now. Support the people that you appreciate, because it's times are tough, and in our industry is essential. And I'm grateful to be in this industry right now, but times are tough for everyone. So support your friends, support the community.
Yes.
Sticky Detroit, Sticky Ipsy, support us, please. Thank you for
there you go.
thank you for letting the people know. Sidebar, shout out to our sponsors. Your company,
MI420 Events.
You want to say anything else about them? MI420 Events, so be it. Sticky Ipsy, Sticky Detroit, and then obviously Sensi Mag, Sensi Connect. Definitely, we got to pay the bills, so want to make sure we say that. So, all right. You say that you're tired, and you are, because you do a lot of things, right? And you do it consistently, more importantly, right? So as we're launching this media company, it's the consistency is the important thing, right? Across the board. So I appreciate your consistency. But you also, as a hometown girl, or hometown now, right? You were just able to secure a license in your hometown. Are we talking about that out loud? Can we?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, cool.
we
So
can talk about that.
tell us about.
And it's dope, right? Because, in my mind, the people who deserve to get licenses haven't always necessarily been the ones to obtain them, right? And so for you to be in a position where, you're in love with the industry, you've sweat for the industry, shed tears for the industry, so you've been a lifestyle brand, and now you're in the process of staying a lifestyle brand for sure, but converting into a licensee. Why don't you tell us how that came about a little bit, and how excited you are for that opportunity?
Well, it was a lot of hard work. I remember 5-6 years ago being told that cannabis will never be allowed in Grand Haven, Michigan. It's Ottawa County, where Grand Haven is it is the most conservative county in the state. But I refused to take no for an answer. And so 2016, with intention, I decided I was going to get more involved in the community. I knew that if I wanted to change minds, I needed to get involved. I needed to get out there and start meeting people. So I got appointed to the musical fountain committee. In Grand Haven, we have this beautiful musical fountain. By the way, it's the second largest fountain after the Bellagio.
It is.
So, and we have a 30-minute show every night during the summer, and it dances to music, and it's colorful, and it's really cool. And so I decided to sit on that committee because of my tourism background of being in Colorado and Grand Haven being a tourist town. It was more aligned with what I wanted to do. Didn't really want to sit on the planning commission, so I chose the musical fountain committee. And that started it with introductions. Well, then I started paying attention to politics. I started hosting cannabis wellness events for women in my community. I just really, I decided to just not care anymore. This is what I am passionate about. This is what I believe in. And I want to educate others about the things I know about this wonderful plant. And so I got more and more involved in politics of things, got frustrated over local politics because the city council, this was back in 2018, had denied a very popular distillery from opening up in a specific building downtown. And it was very political and stupid. It was because we don't want alcohol in our community, blah, blah, blah. We don't want more alcohol is pretty much what a couple of the city council members were saying. And I got frustrated and I was like, screw this, I'm running for city council. And I ran for city council. And as I was running for city council, I started the conversation. I had already begun starting the conversation of trying to get it on the agenda. I sat down with a couple of city council members and educated them. They brought it up and said, I think we need to talk about this. And it got put on the agenda. City council then pushed it to the planning commission, who started writing the ordinance. So I was a part of this process as I was running for city council. So people, the community started to get to know me, and they didn't just get to know me. I put myself out there. When you run for public office, you're really just putting yourself out there. And so I did. And it worked. I gained the trust that I needed. I wasn't just that pot lady anymore. I wasn't Nancy Botwood anymore. It was all of a sudden I was looked at in a much better light, and I was looked at professionally, and they were willing to listen to me. And it got to a point where they were just asking a lot of recommendations on the ordinance. And one of my recommendations was, let the locals have a stab at this first. I wanted that for myself, but I know my community well, and I know my community wants to give those opportunities to locals. And so that's how the ordinance was written. It gave me an advantage. So when it was time to start moving along, all I had to do was find someone who was already an operator to do business with. And, it took a lot of, I interviewed people for 2 years, and what ended up happening is I, partnered with a wonderful group, Level Up Holdings, that with in a short amount of time. And I'm so excited to be working with this group, and we're going to be building a facility. We're not just retrofitting a existing building. We get to build what we want. And I'm so excited about it because, it's such a great opportunity to just, I now know that I can make an impact in my community without running for public office.
That's awesome.
A couple things, right? First thing is, why didn't you call us? I'm a little upset with that. We would have came to Grand Haven. You know what I mean? Yeah. All right. Anyway,
a lot of people would have came to Grand Haven, and
it's true.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. I'm happy to I think there's a point that you made that people skip over, right? Like, this is a business now, right? It's regulated, whether you want it to be or not, and so even if you're a lifestyle brand, or you're a part of the legacy market, traditional market, right, underground, whatever the case is, or you operate in that gray area, like, there's a balance that needs to be had, right? And the ability to keep your authenticity, but also understand how to play the game, as we like to put it, right, is an important thing ultimately to your success in this industry. And I don't know how many people actually realize or want to recognize, like, it's a bunch of people who would be amazing cannabis entrepreneurs where we come from.
And they have been.
But rules change, right? So you either change with the rules and adjust, or you aren't going to have an opportunity to play anymore, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent. It is what it is. It's where we live. And so I don't want to glance over the fact that, you had this reputation that you were proud of, mind you, right? That then transitioned into, okay, how do I get involved so I can help make a difference? That then transitioned into, I'm still Jamie Cooper, but I've done enough to gain the respect of people so that I can actually really participate in the cannabis industry as it is today. You know what I mean? So kudos to you. I respect that, and a lot of people can learn from everything that you just said if they wanted to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
it takes a lot of grinding, and that's what people need to realize is, like, I would not have gotten this opportunity if it wasn't for the 5 years of grind before that. And because it doesn't happen. You don't just snap your fingers and it happens. It takes a lot of persistence. You're constantly running into roadblocks because of regulations, and because you're at the mercy of your local government, the state government, the people, shiesty people doing business that are all about the money. I mean, you really have to go through this learning process. You have to go through those burns. I mean, like, 2016, I had an entire business, like, stolen from me, and it was that burn that made me smarter. And I'm grateful. I'm now, like, I realized that I needed that to just get that tougher skin. And it really, that's a lot of what it takes.
Life lessons over here.
True. Yeah, I just got $1 million worth of information. Literally, just got $1 million worth of information. You know what I mean? Last question for you: the outlook on West Michigan. So I went to Hope College, by the way, in Holland, right?
Yeah, so I know about your I know about your area over there. I know about your
yes, you do.
Spent a lot of time in Grand Haven at Coast Guard, so can't wait to get back to that.
But what's your outlook for West Michigan? Generally speaking, right? Do you see it becoming more progressive? Do you see there being more opportunities, on the lake states, like, Muskegon is obviously moving forward. Grand Rapids is obviously moving forward. I imagine South Haven is probably going to move forward at some point. So, what's your outlook on West Michigan, generally?
Bring it. I'm ready to go after a lot of these communities that are stubborn, and they do need to realize that a lot of people are losing their jobs right now. And this is an industry that's creating jobs, and it's creating this much needed tax revenue for these communities that are just starving for money right now, especially tourist towns like Holland that had to cancel time. There's such an opportunity, and they just need to realize that door is there, and realize that it's not as scary as one might think. Like we're well past, some of the scary
Stigmas.
Stigmas. It's really not that way. Like, it's time to normalize, and it's time to provide that accessibility for the people that want it, and generate some revenue.
Mm-hmm.
What's your outlook on West Michigan?
I don't know. Whatever Jamie says.
Because she is West Michigan. It's true.
Yeah, I think even when you look in the election, so I have had a place in like the Benton Harbor, St. Joe area, which is also very conservative depending on which side of the bridge you're on. And I was surprised to even know the way that Grand Rapids voted this election. To be honest with you, I didn't know that it was as moderate and as liberal as it was. So I think that, the more progressive we see communities get, I think the more you see younger people in these communities becoming active. Jamie, whether you consider yourself younger not in this conversation when it comes to elected officials, I'm sure out there you are definitely the youngest. So I think that, just as a whole, as you see young people being involved in the process, as you see communities that are growing, you will probably see this sort of wave. But yeah, I was very surprised when I saw the way that the votes, even across the state, were looking. And I would assume that the communities that are a bit more liberal would swing more in favor of cannabis.
Okay. Well, we shall remain to be seen, I guess, right? We'll find out in short order. But, Jamie, thank you. What we try to do on this podcast is we try to add value. We try to have real talk conversation. Talk about the good, the bad, the ugly across the board, right? And really tell the narrative of what's going on throughout the Midwest, primarily right now Michigan. Obviously talking to you, and appreciate your perspective. Appreciate you being a friend to the industry. Appreciate you being one of those authentic souls. I appreciate authenticity. And so thank you. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and
this was a lot of fun. And
absolutely. Yeah. So next time we'll have to have you in the studio as things subside, and once we can actually do some things, we'll go out and have a good time in Detroit. But
absolutely.
Just want to say thank you all for joining us again for another episode for the CANiVISION Midwest podcast. Tatiana and I are forever grateful for every follow, every like, every viewer. We appreciate it. We don't take it for granted. And so we're going to keep trying to bring dope people on like Jamie Cooper. And hopefully you'll continue to follow us on this journey. So until next time, we appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. Have a good week, everyone.